Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. Today we have Maverick 533 in the I don't know how to pronounce that. Look, as an English speaker looking at that, it says Ostergotland, and I know that's wrong. I know that all of the Swedes and probably the Norwegians and Danes and even the Finns are throwing up their hands in disgust. But I don't know how you pronounce it. I mean, is it Östergötland? I don't know. Whatever. It's the Swedish... Sorry. I mean, it is Swedish, but it's the European Tier 9 destroyer. These ships do seem quite popular, but, well, you'd expect that of any new line of ships, but, well, I'm not really sure how I feel about them. I mean, I've seen people doing extremely well in them, but I'm just not sure about a line of ships that have lousy concealment and no smokescreen in a game that's dominated by aircraft carriers. Although this one isn't. There are no carriers in play in this battle, which might help explain the result that you're about to see. But in the games that I've played in these ships, and I've only gotten as far as the Tier 7, so maybe that's the problem as far as I'm concerned, the combination of poor visibility, mediocre speed, and no smokescreen in a game where you can expect there to be aircraft carriers in 50% of your matches is a bit of a deal breaker for me. Yes, these ships do have above average AA for destroyers, but it's only above average AA for destroyers. When you're watching full AA spec Baltimores with defensive fire and priority AA sectors up and they're still getting bitch slapped by aircraft carriers one tier below them, having better than average AA for a destroyer isn't particularly reassuring. And when you have a base surface detection range of more than 7.5 kilometers and your top speed is only 35 knots, it's not difficult for a carrier to find you and catch you. Like the Friesland, the premium Tier 9 pan-European, it's actually Dutch, destroyer, the Ostergotland, or however you pronounce it, only has 4 guns. Same configuration, 2 turrets, 2 120mm guns per turret, and the guns are kind of weak. The DPM on paper is actually not bad. The rate of fire is very fast, with a 2.3 second reload, but the range is poor. 10.2 kilometers firing range, and that's with the upgraded fire control. And the turrets are kind of sluggish. I mean, they're not as slow as a Japanese destroyer's turrets, but it takes a full 18 seconds for them to rotate 180 degrees. This is very definitely not a gunboat. And Maverick's been radared, probably the Moskva. Time to start making tracks and attempt to get out of radar range, which is going to take some time because he only has a top speed of 35 knots, though he is running his engine boost. Oh, and of course the first hit that he takes knocks his engines out, but he's running the last stand skill because he's not stupid, so he can keep moving. I realise that so far I haven't sounded too enthusiastic about these ships, and there's a good reason for that, but they do have one outstanding feature. And that one outstanding feature just smacked that Moskva twice. It's the torpedoes. They are incredibly fast, and they have a very, very fast reload. The ship does only have the 2 torpedo launchers. Each of them have 4 tubes, and the stock torpedoes, which Maverick is not using, you can tell by looking at the minimap. The outer range circle marker is 13.5 kilometers, which is the range of his upgraded torpedoes. And these upgraded torpedoes only take 100 seconds to reload and have a speed of 86 knots. Yes, really. Oh, spotted. Well, with the shitty concealment on this thing, you're probably always going to get outspotted by anything other than a Russian destroyer, and it's the Kagero. And of course, within seconds of him being spotted, he's being targeted by 6 enemy ships, and the first shot takes his engine out again. That's the bad news. The good news is the Kagero was unlucky enough to sail straight into those torpedoes, took 2 of them, and that was enough to sink him. With the Kagero gone, he is of course no longer spotted, but there were so many shots in the air from so many different people targeting him in the couple of seconds that the Kagero had him spotted that he'd lost half of his health and he's already had to burn through one of his heals. Oh yes, this ship has a heal. It has access to the damage repair consumable. Now, I'm not convinced but that's adequate compensation for the fact that this ship is slow, has shitty concealment and doesn't have a smokescreen, but I'll take it. The torpedoes, by the way, which are definitely the best feature of this ship, aren't all good. Their damage output is actually shockingly bad. 10,700 maximum damage per hit. Oh, he spotted again. Radar again. It's so much fun playing destroyers in the current meta, with radar and aircraft and German hydro and other destroyers with better concealment. And soon, submarines that can outspot you while submerged. Yay! But yes, anyway, getting back to the subject. These torpedoes, they are very good. I mean, you can't have it all. They reload quickly. It's got plenty of them. It can put 8 into the water at once. Doesn't really need a torpedo reload booster with a 100-second reload. And the speed is insane. Even the stock torpedoes, which have a 12-kilometer range, which is still pretty good, have a speed of 76 knots. But the upgraded torpedoes here, 86 knots. It's just ridiculous. It's just the damage output that is sadly lacking. Oh, he managed to score another one. This is what I'm talking about right here. He's only done 36,000 damage with 5 torpedo hits. He sank the Kagero with 2 torpedo hits. But he only just managed to sink the Kagero with 2 torpedo hits. The Shimakaze could have done it with 1 and had damage to spare. But when your torpedoes only do 10,700 maximum damage, you have to land a lot of torpedoes. Now, the ship is capable of landing a lot of torpedoes because they reload very quickly and they're insanely quick. But the downside to that is when you only have 2 gun turrets and a base surface detection range that's closer to 8 kilometers than it is to 7, you have to keep your distance. And that 12, in the case of the stock torpedoes, a 13.5 kilometer range. In the case of the upgraded torpedoes, you pretty much have to use all of that range in order to be able to get torpedoes away without getting wrecked. Although in this case, Maverick was able to get reasonably close to that smokescreen, since the destroyer lurking in there, who did just take a torpedo, obviously isn't spotting anybody outside of it. Oh, and he's taking another one. Right, okay. Actually, that's really good news. That was the Z-46, so he's now managed to sink 2 of the 3 enemy destroyers who outspot him. Well, technically all 4 of the enemy destroyers outspot him, but the 4th is the European Tier 8, the Öland, and it does technically outspot him, but only by 200 meters. So he's managed to take care of 2 of the 3 enemy destroyers who totally outspot him, and that's going to make life significantly easier for him. Another thing that you may have just noticed about these torpedoes is that there's no wide spread. You've got a narrow spread and an extremely narrow spread, which does help you maximize the number of torpedoes that you can land on target if you're prepared to take the risk of getting close enough to minimize the chance of your target being able to dodge out of the way. Even so, Maverick doesn't risk getting any closer than 9 kilometers from that turret. It's probably because there was a Cleveland on the other side of an island, just under 12 kilometers away. And the turbot is a good target for the torpedoes here, because unlike a lot of German battleships, it doesn't come with hydro. 3 solid torpedo hits, but with the low alpha strike of these torpedoes, not enough to finish him off. He decides it's worth the risk, given his position away by shooting. Does take the turrets out, as shots land all around him. But those other torpedoes, the ones that missed the turrets, hit and sank the enemy Öland. So that's nice. Only 1 destroyer left on the enemy team. That'll be the Benham. And, well, having mediocre range on the guns isn't actually all bad, because if you are forced to give your position away by shooting, and the range of your guns is only 10.2 kilometers, that means you're only visible for 10.2 kilometers. And because Maverick has been taking great pains to try to keep all of his opponents at arm's length whenever he was forced to engage them, that meant that the Tirpitz was the only ship that was actually in a position to see him when he was shooting. Although, having said that, I don't know if Maverick's been emboldened by his recent success against the Erland and the Tirpitz, but he's getting awfully close to that Massachusetts and the Cleveland behind it. I mean, you have to expect that the second those torpedoes were seen, and only one of them hit the Massachusetts, that the Cleveland's going to pop his radar. And it's been about 4 minutes since Maverick was radared, so I don't understand why the Cleveland isn't radaring. Does Maverick know something about that Cleveland's radar that we don't? Because if he was to get radared now, he would be in a world of shit. Inside the range of the Massachusetts secondaries and with a Cleveland capable of shooting at him. Something else I don't quite understand. The Bismarck and the Massachusetts just did a drive-by and both of them broadsiding each other at point-blank range, and neither of them died. I can only assume that the Bismarck momentarily thought he was in a Tirpitz and was trying to get close enough to launch torpedoes, and then realised at the last second, oh shit, I don't have torpedoes. But I don't know what the Massachusetts excuse for not killing the Bismarck was. Maverick strayed into detection range of the Massachusetts there. Since he was spotted anyway, he took a couple of shots, and, well, despite the fact that the Massachusetts secondaries are no joke, reasonably safe, since he was about to get into cover behind the island here. 2 successful torpedo hits left the Massachusetts on 6,000 health, but one of them did cause flooding, and that is the Kraken Unleashed. Although, let's just keep things in perspective here. I mean, well done for the Kraken, obviously. He's landed 15 torpedo hits, but he's done less than 120,000 damage. If he'd been in any other nation's destroyers at tier 9 with that many torpedo hits, he would have been well over 200,000. If he'd been in a Shimakaze, he might have been approaching 250,000. But then again, other nations' destroyers don't reload the torpedoes as quickly as these ones do. Well, except for the Germans. The Germans have a faster reload. The Z-46 reloads its torpedoes in 90 seconds, 10 seconds faster than the Swedes here. And the German torpedoes do 50% more damage. But they don't have the range, and they're not as fast. These Swedish torpedoes are 20 knots faster than the best the Germans have. Actually, the Z-46 has pretty lousy concealment as well. It's only marginally better than this thing. But then again, the Z-46 has a smokescreen and hydro, so, but it doesn't have a heel. Oh, I don't know. Make your own mind up which is best. Although, you know, that kind of says it all for me, really. I mean, understand, this is my point of view. Your mileage may vary. But when it comes to the fact that we're actually arguing over whether or not a Z-46 is better or worse than the penultimate pan-European destroyer, that doesn't say a lot for the pan-European destroyers, does it? Because let's face it, Germany, I love you, but your destroyers are pretty bad. What's that? You disagree? Don't get me wrong, I like the Z-52, but that doesn't mean it's good, you know, compared to other tier 10 destroyers. I mean, I like the TOG too, but that doesn't mean it's a good tank. Let me just put it this way. I'll leave you with a question. When was the last time you saw anybody using a German destroyer in a competitive game of World of Warships? Take your time, I've got all day. But I do think it's valid to draw a comparison between this and the German Tier 9 destroyer, the Z-46. I mean, the torpedo characteristics are similar, except the Z-46 has an even faster reload and its torpedoes individually do 50% more damage. And it has guns that actually work. And it has slightly better concealment, and it's faster, and it has a smokescreen and hydro. But other than that, yeah. On the flip side, this thing has faster torpedoes, and they are a lot faster, and it's got a heel. Well, you should have said. Yeah, I'm just not feeling it with these Swedish, or if we're being completely correct, pan-European destroyers. I mean, I appreciate that some people like them, but just liking something doesn't mean it's good. And yet, despite what I think about this ship, Maverick is doing extremely well in it. Trying to finish off the Moskva there, while his attention is on the friendly Benson. I think, yep, those torpedoes have missed. The high explosive just wasn't doing it, so he switched to the armor piercing. And the armor piercing was only just enough. Now, in the meantime, that Yamato over there did manage to sink the friendly Chapayev. So it's just Maverick and that Benson. And Maverick is spotted, and he's just got bitch slapped by the Yamato, and is continuing to get bitch slapped by the Yamato, but he's going to go undetected right now. Except he's about to get inside detection range. I mean, he was detected earlier because he was shooting, and the gun bloom made him visible, but now he's managed to wander inside surface detection range, so the Yamato gets the opportunity to shoot at him again. And I think, well, it's pretty clear that he did that to get those torpedoes away as close as possible to the Yamato to give him the minimum time to dodge. I'm not convinced that was a good decision, because the Yamato was basically on full health, and these torpedoes hit with all the strength and power of Stephen Hawking. So he was going to need to hit the Yamato with every single torpedo he had to stand a chance of sinking him, and getting that close to the Japanese battleship has left him with very little health remaining, and he's out of heals. He's got more health than the Benson, who only has 97 health remaining. But he absolutely, definitely cannot risk being spotted by the Yamato again. Another torpedo hit. Another very underwhelming torpedo hit. No additional flooding, however. Now let's just take a minute to think about the situation that poor Yamato captain finds himself in. The last ship left alive on his team, fighting two destroyers. Two destroyers that are on very low health, but they're destroyers, and one of them is in his cap. At this point, providing these two destroyers are capable of thinking and breathing at the same time, it should be impossible for them to lose. They've got the spotting advantage and the speed advantage, and they can hit the Yamato without being detected. Both of them can stealth torpedo, even the Benson. So theoretically they can spot that Yamato for the rest of the game. I mean, you know, it's the biggest battleship in the world. It's not difficult to follow it without being seen, and just keep nickeling and diming him to death with the torpedoes. And even though Maverick is stern chasing the Yamato with torpedoes, the torpedoes have the range, and they're fast enough that he can actually do this without straying into detection range, and the torpedoes are still going to stand a chance of hitting. So like I said, providing both of these destroyers are capable of thinking and breathing at the same time, the Yamato has no chance. And of course, only one of these two destroyer captains is capable of thinking and breathing at the same time. I do not understand how the Benson allowed himself to get spotted. It's not like he didn't know where the Yamato was, and he's in the stealthier and faster ship. He should be controlling the engagement distance, but he managed to get spotted. Yamato took him out, and all of the Benson's torpedoes missed the Yamato, so, you know, GG Benson, totally worth it. And a fair number of Mavericks did not. Still not enough to outright sink the Yamato, of course. And if the Yamato was ahead on points, running away now might actually be enough for him to win the game, because he's no longer being capped. But enough of those torpedoes caused flooding that Maverick was able to sink him and win the game anyway. I suspect it's probably pretty obvious at this point that I'm not personally a great fan of these pan-European destroyers. I mean, 23 torpedo hits is impressive, but if that had been anybody else, that would have been 500,000 damage. As it is, 226,000 damage to go with the 7 kills. In a ship that I don't really think is very good, that is one hell of an impressive result. And I'm sure these ships have their aficionados. I'm just not really one of them, although I suspect Maverick probably is. Congratulations on the result, Maverick. Well done. Everyone else, I hope you enjoyed it, because that's it for today. And as always, stay safe, take care, and I'll catch you next time.